The Layer7 operator is a modern alternative to automating the deployment and management of the Layer7 API gateway and related capabilities in Kubernetes. It will greatly simplify Layer7 upgrades and management and completely transform how customers meet changing API security requirements in cloud-native environments, helping customers unlock the many benefits of the cloud, including greater agility, availability, scalability, and maintainability, faster times to market, and lower costs. Let's get started with the Layer7 operator. In this guide, we will follow the getting started steps in the Layer7 operator wiki. You can view these steps and more by heading to this link. The process that we will follow is deploy Cert Manager. Cert Manager is required for providing certificates for validating and mutating webhook configurations. Deploy the Layer7 operator. The operator will be deployed in a namespace called Layer7 Operator System. By default, it will watch gateways and repositories in all namespaces. Create a repository. Create a gateway. Test our new gateway. And finally, uninstall all of the resources that we've created. It's worth noting that the gateway we will create will be ephemeral. This eliminates policy database dependencies with the trade-off that any changes we make at Policy Manager will not be distributed to all gateways and will not survive a gateway restart. This Getting Started guide assumes you already have a Kubernetes cluster up and running. If you do not have a Kubernetes cluster available, you can try out the operator with Kind, or Kubernetes and Docker. Check out the examples here for more details. The prerequisites for this Getting Started guide will be Kubernetes and a Gateway version 11 license, which can be requested via support if you don't have one. The first thing that we'll do is install Cert Manager. Cert Manager provisions certificates for the operators validating and mutating webhook configurations. In this example, we'll install Cert Manager with kubectl. There are additional options available here. Next, we'll deploy the Layer7 operator. The Layer7 operator can also be deployed using Helm. This Getting Started guide demonstrates deploying the Layer7 operator using kubectl commands. The following command will deploy the operator along with all of its required resources. We can view the Layer7 operator logs using the following command. We'll keep this running in a separate terminal. Next, we'll create a repository. Below is a simple example of a repository without any authentication. We'll take this and save it to a file called myrepository.yaml. To apply this repository, we'll run the following command. We should see on the right in our log that the repository has been reconciled. Next, we'll create our Layer7 API gateway. The gateway custom resource allows you to define a Layer7 API gateway with a variety of configurations. Before we do that, we'll create a secret that contains our gateway license. To do that, we'll run the following command. Note that you'll need to change the path in the from file to the path of your gateway license. And a gateway license has been created. We'll then copy this gateway definition into a file called mygateway.yaml. To create the gateway, we'll run the following command. And we should see on our log on the right that our gateway has been created. The next thing that we'll do is confirm that our gateway is up and running. And as we can see, we have one gateway, which is of ready status 1 out of 1. The next thing we'll do is test our gateway deployment. First, we'll get the services, and we can see that we have a service called SSG of type load balancer, and the external IP is in pending state. In order to connect to this, we'll need to port forward. To port forward, we'll run kubectl port forward, svc for service, and SSG, which is the name of the service that we want to port forward to. And we're going to be targeting port 8443 on the local machine and 8443 on the service. Next, we'll call the gateway using curl. This API is included in the repository that we created earlier. and we get back a message saying thanks for getting started at the current timestamp. At this point, you could also open up Policy Manager and connect to localhost 8443 with username admin and password Layer7. Given that this is an ephemeral gateway deployment, using Policy Manager is less useful. Finally, we'll clean up our environment by removing everything that we added. The first thing is going to be removing the gateway. The second will be removing the repository. We'll then remove the Layer7 operator. And Cert Manager. In the short Getting Started guide, we've covered deploying Cert Manager, deploying the Layer7 operator, creating a repository custom resource, creating a gateway custom resource, testing our gateway, and finally, uninstalling and cleaning up our environment.